6 months ago, my mom got on her knees and begged me to donate a kidney to my stepsister. 6 months later, the night before my wedding, she begged me to give up my fiancé for her beloved stepdaughter. My brother slapped me hard. Nina, how can you be so selfish? She's dying. Don't you know, it's all right, in another 2 months. I'll be dead too, and then everyone will be happy. The night before my wedding, my mom knelt and pleaded, Nina, don't get married yet. Let Leon be there for Daisy, okay? Daisy has depression, and the news of your wedding made her worse. I'm begging you. I said nothing. Then my brother slapped me again, furious, his neck veins bulging with anger. I laughed, looking at them. So, everything I have, if Daisy wants it, you want me to sacrifice, right? My kidney, and now my future husband, all for her. Her mom's eyes were red. Daisy is young. She can't live without Leon. I promise, once she gets better, we'll let Leon marry you, okay? My brother grabbed my wrist. Nina, stop being unreasonable. We're family. Isn't it good that Daisy's alive? Leon came in, looking conflicted, still wearing the suit for the wedding tomorrow. I could see the hesitation in his eyes, but he just patted my head. Nina, wait for me. The 3 of them rushed out, leaving me alone, like a stranded clown, with tomorrow's wedding dress lying on the bed. I glanced at the health report I just received yesterday and thought, it's fine. I'll be gone soon too, and everyone will be satisfied. Everything, my kidney that I donated months ago, my future husband, all hers. Mom had already informed all the relatives and friends that tomorrow's wedding was cancelled, and Leon had informed his family that the wedding was postponed. As the bride, I had no say at all. Just like 6 months ago, when Daisy needed dialysis and a kidney transplant due to uremia, our whole family was asked to match. I used to be the most invisible one at home, but on the day when the match results came out, unexpectedly, Mom, stepfather, and brother weren't in the hospital with Daisy, but at home. They made me a lavish dinner. I'd never been treated this way. I was a bit shocked, but no one remembered. I was allergic to seafood. Mom smiled ingratiatingly. Nina, the results are out. You and your sister are a match. You can save her. Staring at the seafood on table, I suddenly looked up at the 3 of them. Do you remember I'm allergic to seafood? My brother slammed the chopsticks down at me, his face angry. Nina, your sister is about to die, and you're worried about a seafood allergy. Mom burst into tears. Nina, you have to save her. Don't forget, all your tuition and living expenses growing up were paid by Jill. You should be grateful. That day, it rained cats and dogs outside. Mom was on her knees begging me. My brother looked at me with hatred. Jill threw a pleading glance at me. I smiled. Mom, if I donate the kidney now, can you not take what's mine for her anymore? Mom hesitated a moment, then nodded frantically. I promise you. I agreed, and the 3 of them finally sighed in relief. As I watched the rain outside, Mom hurried to leave. Daisy is scared of thunder. She'll be afraid without me. I'm going to the hospital to be with her. I was left alone, staring at the big seafood feast, remembering before my dad died, Mom loved me, brother cherished me, the family took care of me so carefully. When did things start to change? It seemed to be 20 years ago, after my dad passed away, and Mom married Jill, taking my brother and me along. He was kind and amiable, and his daughter Daisy was lively, loved by everyone. I became more silent after Dad's death and the drop in living standards, not the favorite child in the adults' eyes. Sometimes, watching Mom, my brother, Jill, and Daisy, they seemed more like a family of 4. I was the extra one. Anything I liked, if Daisy wanted it, Mom would give it to her. Even my brother, over time, grew to favor his unrelated sister more. She would lean on his shoulder, hop on the back of his bike after school, ignoring the awkward me following behind. Back then, Daisy said, "Sister, your mom and brother are mine now. You don't belong here." While I was standing there, bewildered and teary-eyed, she'd run to Mom, acting all sweet, and then stick her tongue out at me behind Mom's back. I realized as I lay on my wedding dress, my body was suddenly racked with pain, deep, bone-cutting pain, making my tears fall big and heavy. Curling up on the wedding dress I picked after so long, I cried like a lost puppy. The next day, I packed up and went back to the little home Leon and I shared. I texted Leon, "Leon, I think we need to talk." Quickly, a message came back. It was a selfie of him and Daisy. He was smiling like that young college guy again, face relaxed. I knew Daisy sent it. I called Mom. She answered softly, "Leon's here with Daisy. She's doing better." Okay. I gotta go. Need to bring Daisy some soup. I tossed the phone aside, looking at the little whimpering dog nearby. It jumped onto me, sniffing my scent, then laid on my leg. I wonder if it could sense my illness, looking a bit downcast. I patted its head. "Coco, Mommy has to take care of something. I'll be back to pick you up." I drove to the hospital. Jill and Mom were there lovingly peeling an apple for Daisy, while my brother and Leon were sitting next to her, playing games. I held back my discomfort, turned the doorknob, and walked in. Daisy's face immediately darkened. She took Leon's arm, her eyes turning red as she pretended to be upset. "Sister, can you let me have Leon, please?" Leon quickly stood up and brushed her hand away. "Nina, I was planning to go home soon." Jill felt a bit awkward, but still tried to smile. "Nina, Daisy hasn't recovered yet. Once she's better, the whole family will come to your wedding." Daisy seemed to be strongly affected at that moment. She held her head and screamed loudly. My brother held her and gently soothed her. "Don't be scared, Daisy, I'm here. I'll always be here." Mom pushed me out of the room. "What are you doing here? Don't you know it upsets her to see you?" I stared into Mom's eyes. "Mom, do you remember I'm your biological daughter?" Her gaze showed a flicker of hesitation. Then she pushed me away coldly. "Nina, don't be so ungrateful. You wouldn't have gone to college or gotten a master's degree if it weren't for Jill paying for it all. Show some gratitude." Reluctantly, I held onto Mom's hand. "Mom, I could give all the money back to Jill. Can you?" She closed the door without giving me a second look. I stood there, finishing what I wanted to say. "Can you not treat me like this?" Leon still came out, looking guilty. "Nina, there's nothing between Daisy and me. Her depression is really serious." I looked at the man I'd loved since freshman year, for 7 years. I finally breathed deeply. "Leon, remember the summer, during our first year of grad school, when Daisy insisted on interning in our city? The pet cam at home captured everything you two did every day." His face turned pale, and he clenched my sleeve tight. "Nina, nothing happened between us." I nodded. "Yeah, you did nothing. You played games together, watched shows, walked my dog, and even when she teased me, or kissed you while you were asleep on the sofa, you didn't push her away." "Nina, we were about to get married." "Leon, we're not getting married anymore." I tried to play dumb, but some facts can't be ignored. Daisy is indeed more likable than me. Everyone loves her. I can't pretend anymore. Just like those years, she would send you cute selfies, even if you never replied. You were moved, weren't you? As I turned to leave, Leon hugged me tight. "Nina, let's go home. We've been together for 7 years. 7 years. Just then, Daisy's face appeared at the window, and she suddenly slammed her head against the wall. The sound was loud, blood trickling from her head, as she looked at me with a twisted expression. "Nina, why do you take everything from me?" Leon hesitated. He let go of my hand, his gaze shifting away, and he turned the knob to go back inside. I knew, at that moment, our 7-year relationship was over. Mom and my brother's angry voices echoed in my ears, the foulest words used to berate me, the outsider. My brother pinned me against the wall, glaring. "Nina, won't you get it? Are you an idiot? Do you have to turn the whole family upside down?" I told my brother and Mom, "Don't worry. Leon is Daisy's now." Leon didn't follow me out. I drove back home, heartbroken. I packed all my things and left the house we shared for 7 years with my dog. It's funny. I had been with him for 7 years, yet everything I owned fit in just a few boxes. I'm going to find Sue, my best friend. She'd left for the plains a few years ago, tired of city life. When I called her, she was tending sheep on the prairie. "Sue, I'm driving over to you. I've always wanted to see the plains." "What's up, Nina?" "Nothing, Sue. I'm already on my way." I sped down the highway. When Sue met me at the rest area, she enveloped me in a massive hug. "Nina, you've lost so much weight. It's like you're all bones now." I confessed. "Sue, I might be dying." Sue's eyes widened. "Don't joke around, it's not funny." I clung tightly to her. "Bone cancer. Late stage. Not much time left." Sue frantically pushed me toward her car. "I'll drive you to the hospital now." I shook my head. "Sue, I'm tired. I just want to see the plains and your sheep. I want to leave with no regrets, looking my best." I left my car at the rest stop and hopped into Sue's pickup. I cuddled with Coco in the backseat and rested. Leon called, but I took the SIM card out and tossed it out the window. Sue asked, "Leon, does he know he doesn't deserve to?" "What about your mom and brother?" "Maybe, from a long time ago. They weren't truly my mom and brother anymore." The car stopped in front of her tent right at dawn. The sun began to rise in the distance, its faint light piercing the darkness. It was Coco's first time seeing such an endless prairie. It ran and jumped like crazy, tongue out, full of joy. I thought, if I die, it wouldn't be bad for this little dog to stay here. It'd be able to run carefree. Sue lit a cigarette, the smoke rings fading into the wind, her eyes seeming a bit red. 3 inches the end. She stubbed out her cigarette, stomped on it hard several times, and said, "Nina, are you stupid?" I was a bit speechless, but she pulled me into the tent, turned her back on me, and sobbed, "Nina, Leon promised he'd take good care of you. Is this how he's caring for you? I gently tugged on her sleeve. Sue, can we not talk about him, please? When we laid down together, Sue held onto my hand really tight. Her palm felt a bit rough, but it gave me the most comforting feeling as it rubbed against mine. I leaned on her shoulder. Sue, am I really weak for hiding away? I just don't want to see them anymore. No, Nina, you can't wake someone pretending to sleep. You can't change the favoritism of your mom and brother by fighting back. Sometimes it's better to run away. Pain washed over me again, making me pale. I grabbed some painkillers from my bag. Coco, the dog, lay beside me, whimpering softly. Sue's hands were shaking as she gave me the pills. I forced a smile. Sue, I have a favor to ask. My mom always said I spent a lot of Jill's money on schooling, college, and grad school. I've saved up quite a bit over the years. Can you send this $500,000 to their account? Sue, you're my best friend. It's terrible to bother you even when I'm dying, but there's still $15,000 on that card. Let that be my last gift to you, okay? Sue sighed heavily. Nina, why not use that money to get treatment? I shook my head. Sue, my time's running out. She didn't say more, just turned away and wiped her tears. I hugged her from behind. Sue, I'm sorry. I've really put you through a lot. You're my best friend. If you find it unlucky, I can die far away. Nina, you're being ridiculous. I have money, lots of sheep and cattle. I can cover your medical expenses. Let's fight this, okay? With teary eyes, I patted her head gently. Sue, you know, standing up is painful for me now. I want to die beautiful. I don't want chemo, losing hair, or dying in that city with them. Sue stopped pushing me to see a doctor. That day, she held my medical report and sat on the grassland for a long time. I could hear her crying wildly from inside the tent. She sent the money from my card to Jill's account. My mom called her unexpectedly. Is Nina still acting up? She went to see you, right? That's a relief then. Tell her we got the money. It's perfect to pay for Daisy's treatment. Sue couldn't help but sneer. Auntie, if Nina were dying, would you watch over her like you do Daisy? My mom's tone was intense and sharp. Sue, tell Nina not to bicker with Daisy about everything. Sue retorted, Auntie, hasn't Nina's kidney repaid your care over the years? My mom paused without replying, then hung up. I knew her too well. She's only truly motherly towards Daisy, loving and caring. With me, it's all about growing up quickly and not fussing over things with my sister. Even when I got into a prestigious school, she barely glanced at the acceptance letter, no reaction. Just because Daisy couldn't even get into the worst colleges, she was afraid I'd upset Daisy. It's okay, I'm used to it. Sue drove us around, wandering. The grass on the prairie was lush. When we stopped, we sat in the back of the pickup. Coco ran around happily. I leaned into Sue's embrace. Sue, after I go, scatter my ashes here. This prairie will surely flourish next year. Sue didn't reply. She pulled out a candy and popped it in my mouth. Okay, let's not talk about that, please. Sue started crying. I asked the doctor, if a patient doesn't really want to live, the disease progresses faster. You even donated a kidney 6 months ago. Is that when you got sick? I patted her lightly. Sue, I just don't have any strength left. Sue hugged me tightly. Suddenly, I remembered a lot from when we were kids. Sue, remember when my dad died? Everyone bullied me, called me a fatherless child. You always stood up for me. Sue didn't speak, just sniffled. Her tears dripped on my forehead, but I went on anyway. You protected me back then. There's one more gift I have for you before I die. Sue, I made you the beneficiary of my critical illness insurance. You need to keep living well. Sue broke down. Nina, you've even thought of post-death plans. I wiped her tears away. Silly, you love this prairie the most, right? Whenever you come, you'll see me, and my dog. Coco's such a good dog, just picky with food, loves my homemade meals over dog food. I'll teach you how to make it. Coco will be happy with you here. I watched Coco pant happily in the distance. After all, everything will be here, good boy. Sue hugged me even tighter, pleading earnestly, Nina, please don't. Let's get treated. I don't need your money. Let's get you well, okay? If you're gone, what use is the money? If you're gone, I can't take care of your dog alone. Why would someone who's dying waste money on themselves? I looked at Sue. Seriously, Sue, I don't want to waste time anymore. Let me have some dignity in my final days, okay? Blood started pouring from my nose. Sue frantically tried to stop it and then stood up suddenly, exclaiming, why do the good ones have to die? For she drove me back to the tent. The moon was bright, and the little lambs were starting to nap. I turned on my phone. I saw a text from Leon. He knows my backup number. Those texts were erratic. One moment he wanted to break up, and the next he wanted me not to leave. I didn't need to guess. I knew it had Daisy's fingerprints all over it. Then a familiar number suddenly popped up. I picked up. It was my brother. He sounded awkward, but he still spoke up. Nina, Daisy really likes Leon. Can you? I didn't let him finish. I agreed right away. Bro, I promise. I'm not clinging to Leon. If Daisy can win him over, he'll be hers. My brother sounded a bit impatient. What do you mean by that? The pain in my body left me weak. I chuckled quietly. Bro, remember when Dad was still around? You always used to drag me around everywhere, bro. I gave all the money to Jill. Can he give me back my mom and brother? He sounded startled. Nina, what's wrong? Where are you? I suddenly let go. I said softly, Ethan, I gave the money, my kidney, and my boyfriend to Jill's family. Should be even now, right? Mom won't say I'm ungrateful anymore, right? Bro, would you still be mad at me for not caring about little sis? It's all hers now. Nina, where are you? Ethan, if I had the choice, I'd never want to be Nina. I hung up, and the pain hit again. I saw Sue feeding Coco not far away. No, I can't let her worry anymore. I pushed myself up and walked slowly over to them, but I still passed out. When I woke up, my vision was getting blurry. I knew my cancer had spread everywhere, even feeling a wet, cool sensation below me. As much as I hated to admit it, I was incontinent. Cancer spreading, no strength, losing vision, incontinence. They all stripped away my dignity. When Sue came in to change my clothes, she didn't say a thing. In just under a month, I had worn her out. She looked exhausted. She came in with Ethan. His eyes were red, bruised. Clearly, Sue hit him, probably for me. I was a bit stunned. I really have nothing left to give Daisy. Ethan, can you not push me? Can I at least die in peace? A guy almost 6 feet 3 inches started crying like a child. He wiped his nose and his tears, kneeling step by step to my bedside. Nina, let brother take you home, okay? Let's go home and get you treated, alright? I won't leave you anymore. You're my sister. How could I? I pushed him away. Ethan, please just stay away from me. He reached out to touch me, but I dodged. He looked surprised, then asked with red eyes, does it hurt? It must hurt a lot. Nina, let's go home with brother. I suddenly broke down. The facade I had kept crumbled into the ugliest truth, and I screamed at him, Ethan, I'm about to die. Quit pretending to be a good guy. If I was really your sister, then don't let me see you again. Sue took him away, and I returned to my calm. Sue wiped her eyes. He came on his own. I'll send him away. Don't get upset. I didn't know what Sue said to Ethan, but he didn't come back. Day after day of pain was wearing me down. Painkillers didn't help. I bit my lip to bear it, only daring to moan softly when Sue was out of the tent. Coco no longer liked running around. It stayed close to me, guarding me. I endured the pain, feeling every joint aching. Still got up to play frisbee with it once. I tossed the frisbee far, but Coco didn't move. It just stayed beside me, holding onto my leg. I stroked its head. You want mommy to be happy? Go get it. Good boy. Coco finally ran off, but kept looking back, afraid I'd vanish. It's okay, Coco. You need to learn not to look back. I tricked Sue, saying the painkillers were working, that I could slowly stand and walk. She finally seemed happy. She really believed me, thought my body was on the mend. Ethan didn't come around again, but I could see snacks and supplements piled outside the tent, and one set of those Barbies I always dreamed of having as a kid. I remember back then, Jill only bought one set, 4 dolls. I too, Daisy too, but Daisy liked all 4. Mom didn't hesitate, just put them all in Daisy's room. She even scolded me in front of Jill. Jill's paying for your school, isn't that enough? And you still want dolls? If you're so capable, earn money yourself and buy them. Don't fight with Daisy for them. Sue was hesitant. Ethan might really feel sorry. Maybe we should. I shook my head. Sue, even if he genuinely wants to make it up to me now, it won't make a difference. I don't need it anymore. And I don't want him living in guilt. Let him leave. Don't let him come back. Just think of me as living well far, far away. Sue sighed and said nothing more. Leon started calling Sue's phone. Sue already disliked him, her words harsher than ever. Ethan hadn't told anyone about my illness, because I had threatened that if he did, or brought anyone else here, I'd never forgive him this lifetime. Leon sounded weary over the phone. In a hoarse voice, he pleaded, Sue, you're her best friend. Please tell me, where is she? 5 Sue sneered. What? Daisy's not clinging to you anymore. Depression and being frail since she was little, yet still having a sunny personality. I bet everyone's tripping over themselves to worry about her, right? Leon paused. Nina has always been so kind. I don't get why she has to push me away this time. She even donated a kidney to her sister 6 months ago. Why can't she put up with her now? I know Nina feels wronged, but Daisy's depression is extreme. She's prone to harming herself. We can't just sit back and watch her self-destruct, Can we? Sue replied. Let her die if that's what she wants. After hanging up the phone, I suddenly realized I was incontinent again. My face must have looked terrible. Sue picked me up, changed the sheets, and helped me change clothes. I weakly said, Sue, I'm sorry for being such a burden. She shook her head. Don't say that, please, Nina. Don't say that. She tries to keep things normal for me, going shepherding with Coco, fearing I'd worry. I know all of this. When they left, I pulled out pen and paper and wrote my goodbye letter. I simply couldn't bear the intense pain anymore. I didn't want to be a burden to my friend, or let my dignity be stripped away bit by this illness. They deserve a normal life. I placed the letter and my insurance policy from before I got sick together. Finally, I decided not to drive. It had just crushed the grass, and the young, vibrant grass deserves a chance. No need to trample it. I picked out a horse and saddled it up. With my prepped GPS, I headed to the river that felt like home. In my life, never having felt a mother's love, let me be selfish this one time. Let me die here at the river. I was unsteady on horseback, needing to move faster and faster. Once Sue finds out, she'd for sure rush out with Coco looking for me. I stood by the bank, watched the rushing water, and jumped in. The water filled my nose, and I sank without struggling. I knew in that moment, I was finally free. Sue's perspective when Sue got back to the tent. She realized Nina was missing. The neatly made bed and spotless floor made her uneasy. Her eyes landed on the stack of papers on the pillow. It was Nina's farewell letter and the insurance policy she had mentioned. Panic set in. The letter read, Sorry, Sue, but I just can't handle the pain anymore. I've never felt a mother's love. Let me end it at the Mother River. Sue took Coco and drove along a road reaching the riverbank. A group of herders gathered tightly around a small area. Sue's heart sank. Pushing through the crowd, she saw Nina's pale face. The prairie police investigated, but said little after seeing Nina's letter. Sue was in shock. Coco circled Nina's body, anxiously turning. She suddenly remembered Nina's request, scatter my ashes on this grassland. Next year's prairie should be greener. With the herders' help, Sue held a small funeral for Nina. As the fire blazed, Coco crazily tried to leap into the flames, with Sue holding her tightly, tears pouring down. Nina, you idiot. When Ethan showed up with Nina's favorite snacks, he saw the red glow from a distance, along with the herders and monks. He got closer. Seeing Sue crying while hugging Coco, he forced himself to believe it couldn't be his sister in the flames. He crouched and asked Sue, Who is that? With hate in her eyes, Sue looked at Ethan. Who is that? That's your biological sister, Ethan. Isn't it a bit late for redemption? Ethan froze. How can it be? It's impossible. She's not my sister. He madly attempted to charge into the fire, but was held back by the nearby herders. The fire made crackling sounds as it consumed the body. Sounds of skin and bone breaking, and Sue felt as if 1,000 needles pierced her heart. After the flames died down, Coco lay crying on the grass. Sue patted Coco's head, stepped forward, and gently placed Nina's ashes into a box. Ethan was beside her. Can you give her back to me? I'll take her home. Sue ignored him, carefully gathering every bit of Nina's ashes, and then faced Ethan. Ethan, you don't deserve it. On a day with nice weather, sunshine bright, as the sheep leisurely grazed, Sue placed a tiny bit of Nina's ashes into a small glass vial, making it a pendant she wore around her neck. She caressed the little pendant. Nina, we won't be apart anymore. She drove to the place they had visited before, gently scattering Nina's ashes on the prairie. Ethan followed her the whole way. Seeing the wind carry Nina's ashes into the air, scattering, he broke down and kneeled before Sue. Sue, please let me take her home. Sue suddenly sneered. Ethan, what home? Isn't it you who destroyed it piece by piece? Daisy is your real sister. Nina didn't want anything to do with you. Ethan sat on the grass. Sue said, Nina wanted her ashes spread here. She said the grassland next year would be greener. Ethan crazily grabbed a handful of ashes and ran away. Sue sighed, talking to herself, Nina, they'll get what's coming to them. In the next life, don't be family with them again. Ethan's perspective. Ethan carefully placed that handful of ashes into a pink urn he had prepared. He murmured to himself as he held the box, Nina, didn't you love pink the most? Brother's taking you home. But deep down, he knew Nina wouldn't call him brother anymore. He always thought Nina was still that sensible little girl. Even when her favorite things were given to Daisy by their mom, she didn't say a word or shed a tear. Eventually, he even convinced himself that maybe Nina didn't really care about those things, and giving them to Daisy was fine. Daisy was sweet-talking. She'd hug his neck and act cute, winning over their mom. He saw it all. He saw how hard Jill worked to support the 3 siblings. He understood her humility and cautiousness, as well as why she'd always tell him and Nina you have to be grateful. In the beginning, he felt sorry for Nina, but as time went on and Nina became more and more peculiar, he ran out of patience for a sensitive and suspicious teenage sister. He thought everything would turn out fine once she grew up. Somewhere along the line, he unknowingly became just like his mother. When Nina got accepted into a prestigious school, he got a laptop intending to give it to her. But then Daisy asked, "Brother, is this the gift for my college entrance?" And he just nodded. He saw the disappointment in Nina's eyes, but he told himself it didn't matter. There would be another chance. When Nina got a spot for graduate school, he bought an iPhone 12 for her. Yet, before he could give it to her, Daisy found it. "Brother, is this for me?" For the first time, Ethan refused Daisy. "It's for Nina." She got into grad school. Daisy's eyes welled up, and she suddenly started crying. "Brother doesn't love me anymore. Only sister, right?" He suddenly softened his voice. "Then it's for you." He saw Nina standing behind the door, but he didn't say anything. Thinking about it now, Ethan felt awful. He looked at his hand, realizing he had once slapped his own sister for Daisy. He cried uncontrollably on the plane. All the passengers were watching this grief-stricken man, with tears streaming down his face. How much pain must Nina have felt that night when her family, including himself, were pressing her to donate a kidney during that stormy night. Ethan dared not think. And right before her wedding, when her own mother knelt, begging her to give up her future husband, how much pain must Nina have felt then? Ethan didn't dare to think any further. When he closed his eyes, the image of Nina's eyes, filled with tears outside the hospital room, came to mind. He couldn't ignore the disappointment in her eyes. When Nina said, "Don't worry, Leon is Daisy's now," he wanted to follow her but thought he could always make it up to her later. Yet, he didn't realize there wouldn't be a later once Nina left. When Ethan returned home, his mother and Jill were still at the hospital with Daisy. He drove to the hospital. Leon was outside the room, still calling Nina's phone. He paused, his voice hoarse. "No need, Nina's dead." "What did you say?" Leon punched Ethan in disbelief and cursed. "What did you say?" Wiping blood from his lip, Ethan repeated, "Nina's dead." Leon was ready for another fight, when suddenly the door opened. His mother, with a displeased look, said, "Ethan, you said you found Nina. Where is she? Tell her to apologize to Jill. Jill will give back the money. We're family after all." Looking at his angry mother, Ethan felt a surge of malice. If she knew Nina was dead, would she break down like him? He spoke coldly, "Nina is back, but she can't come by herself." His mom grew angrier. Daisy came over to help her. "Mom, don't be mad. Maybe sister's just mad at me." Ethan gave a strange smile. "She's indeed not coming, because she's dead." His mom frowned. "Are you crazy? Why curse your sister like that?" Leon got panicked and called Sue. Sue's voice came through the phone. "After Nina died, the insurance named a few beneficiaries. I'll be back to help manage it in a few days." She hung up. His mom couldn't believe it. "Stop fooling around." Daisy shrieked, "Brother, are you and sister pranking Mom?" Ethan's gaze fell on Daisy, expressionless. "Daisy, take care of yourself. You still have Nina's kidney in you. Don't forget." Ethan was there just to give his mom the news about Nina's death. Though his mom was half skeptical, she followed him home. Seeing the pink urn, she started muttering to herself, "How could it be? Nina's always been sensible and obedient. Her health was fine when she donated the kidney. Everything was checked. It can't be, it can't be." Sue drove back to the familiar city with Coco. She entered Nina's home. Her room was small and dim, carved out from the kitchen. In contrast, Daisy's room was bright, facing south with a pink princess bed and white drapes. Truly a princess's room. Sue's disdain for Nina's mother grew stronger. Nina's mom refused to believe her daughter was gone until the insurance staff and Sue presented the will and death certificate. She then sat frozen on the ground. Her so-called stepfather remained indifferent. Leon had red eyes, and even Coco didn't want to get close to him. The insurance agent slowly said, "Mrs. Nina bought this policy 2 years ago. She named her mom, brother, Ms. Sue and Mr. Leon as beneficiaries. Now that Mrs. Nina has passed away, the payment will be made to your accounts as per the contract." Nina's mom broke down crying upon seeing the will. Though it was short, every word was sharp and painful. Not a single mention of her or Ethan in the will. Before Sue left, Leon begged her to leave the will with him. Sue agreed. If they could feel the same heart-wrenching pain every day, it wouldn't be in vain for Nina, who suffered so much before leaving. Once Sue wrapped things up, she took Coco back to the prairie. As she played frisbee with Coco, she remembered those times with Nina teaching Coco not to look back by the tent. She couldn't hold it in anymore and cried out loud. Nina, you asked everyone not to look back or remember you. But how can we not? After some time in a daze, Nina's mom chose to divorce Jill. Daisy didn't feel she took anything that belonged to Nina. She even smugly watched Nina's mom before she moved out. Didn't my dad marry you to take care of me? Now that your daughter is gone, you can focus on me, my good mom. This woke Nina's mom up. The child she treated like treasure wasn't her daughter, but her stepdaughter for the last 20 years. She dreaded thinking about what she did before her daughter passed. She couldn't sleep, looking older each day, murmuring, Nina, Nina, come see mom, okay? I'll buy you your favorite doll. Decorate a princess room for you, okay? Leon went to the countryside to teach and disappeared. Ethan became a doctor at a top hospital and kept an eye on Daisy every day. Until Daisy snapped, you're not my brother anymore. Why do you keep staring at me? Ethan coldly replied, because you still have my sister's kidney inside you. But all these acts of atonement came too late. Too late. Nina's final letter. Dear Sue, I'm sorry for burdening you for over a month as I was dying. I couldn't bear my dignity being devoured by illness, or see you soaking in laundry chores. You longed for freedom, which is why you headed to the prairie, yet I selfishly sought refuge with you. I intended to die far away, but just before, I saw the prairie, the mother river, and thought of you. I never felt family warmth, a mother's kindness, or a brother's protection, but I gained the most precious friendship in the world. The insurance benefits and a card I left all go to you, because I have one more favor. Coco, the little dog I had for 4 years, I found her jumping for attention in a pet shop window. The owner told me she wasn't perfect and was half price. So, I took her home. She's been with me for a long time, behaved well, didn't destroy things, but she was greedy and didn't like dog food. She preferred the homemade dog meals I prepared. Now, I entrust her to you. I've written the recipe on another note. Please, take good care of her. The prairie is free-spirited, and she will enjoy that freedom. Also, don't be sad for me. Please don't grieve because of me. If Leon comes looking for you, tell him without the binding of a marriage license, he is still completely free. He shouldn't be bound by moral obligations from pursuing other paths in life. Despite my illness, I selfishly wanted a wedding with him. But life isn't perfect. I don't regret it. Sue, live freely for me. Don't be sad. Maybe the waters of the Mother River are warm. I hope in the next life, I won't encounter the family from before and will have loving parents and a caring brother. Sue, don't cry. The end.